DNVR Bets Daily, RK, Professor Dre. A great day for my man over here over the last 24 hours. And my hat is not actually off. I'm not going to take it off there. That would cause issues with the headphones and everything. My hat is metaphorically off to you, Dre. A nice little run for you over the last 3 days of picks here?
So even including the weekend that got me, going back to my Thursday picks, so Thursday, Friday, Monday, I guess going back to Wednesday. So the last 4 days of KBO picks, I'm 12-7, went 3-1 last night. Even though it was a low-scoring night in the KBO, I'm starting to navigate that. And it's really starting to feel a little bit like when I started this with the metrics, the NFL was like this, where using the metrics from the past season was actually a great indicator for the first few weeks. It was like, oh, wow, it's that easy. The numbers just tell you what to pick. I've gamed Vegas. Then as soon as you started applying, you had a big enough sample size to apply that season stats to the totals. There's always a bit of a period of limbo where you struggle a bit. And now, then you start to bigger sample size, you figure things out. And I feel like that's a bit where we're at with the KBO right now.
So what kind of things are you looking at here as you're making your KBO picks that maybe some of our listeners can glean some knowledge from?
Yeah, I'm really zeroing in on how potent the offenses are, how much of a heater each offense is. I'm trying to look at the last 5 or so games and how high scoring have they been. And I've really been going off of, the starting pitcher ERA. As we know, bullpens can be a bit shaky. I mean, we've grown up for 25 years watching the Rockies. And even we know once in a while, even a crappy bullpen can give you 3 scoreless innings. That happens more often than not. And we've seen that happen in the KBO. But that starter performance is really going to determine a lot. And now that we've got a bit more of a sample size on those ERAs, I think that's becoming a bit more of a reliable way to go off these matchups.
Awesome. It's almost interesting betting on these things with absolutely no heart involved. And what I mean is, you don't have any biases against this team or the other team, except for maybe the fact that they've lost you some money. Obviously, I'm a Twins fan for life. But I feel like it's a lot easier to just look at things based off of, like you said, who's the pitcher on the mound, how have these teams been performing recently. And it's just interesting, you've given out 90 picks here on the show so far. And it's just funny because you go through all of this just to get back to 5. You're sitting at 500, which is kind of what you would expect for betting on, and I'm of course just one game over 500 here. It's kind of what you would expect for betting on stuff that we're still trying to learn. We talked about today how excited we are to get in onto real. I shouldn't say real sports. That's disrespectful. American major sports. We're really excited for that, but we also quickly have a little Bundesliga to talk about.
It was crazy, and it was fun to have middle of the day, midweek stuff to gamble on in game. And this is an interesting one because I gave out 3 picks. Those were 1 and 2, which is why I didn't make it over 500 despite my 3-1. Now I should mention the one win I got at plus 335 with Wolfsburg being a road dog and pulling off the straight up win, which in soccer is not always easy. I know you got in on that. Sadly, our guys from Dortmund couldn't pull it off. It was a great game early on, back and forth. They just didn't have it in that final third, that sharpness, the crispness, as you put it, when we were texting back and forth during the game. Bayern gets a nice but also fairly lucky goal, and then milk the lead and really dominated possession from there. And our guy Haaland got hurt. So, Bayern squeaked out the 1-0 win on the road. There was no home team winners in the Bundesliga today. That's in 5 games, with some pretty high profile teams like Dortmund and Leverkusen playing at home. And then my one other pick, Gladbach, München Gladbach. starting to pronounce it. Borussia Mönchengladbach, starting to pronounce it kind of like correctly. They just couldn't pull it off against bottom feeders Werder Bremen. They honestly deserved a straight out loss. That from what I was watching, both those games were going on at the same time, so I don't go double screen. But it's a 1 and 2 day, but the value we got was tremendous. Problem is, Ryan, I kind of squandered it by hedging on a tie in the Dortmund game, which of course didn't happen. I go after the plus like 500 for Haaland to score the first goal. He had the first couple shots in the game. We were right there for a guy who's been so precise. We couldn't get that either. So I spoiled my winnings a bit in some midday gambling, but that's okay. These things happen to the best of us.
You know, it's some of the best midday TV I've seen in a while. So just having action on it is a blessing in itself. Yeah, I have to say, you know, we had Mönchengladbach in the first weekend, but I have to say, Gladbach does not have very many Glad backers recently. Back-to-back losses for our guys there. You know, they had a chance to become my squad. Just one out of these last two, and they probably would have been my squad. But I think my squad is now Wolfsburg. They really came through today, and it's funny. We're in a weird situation here, Dre, where we've been losing some of the easy ones and winning the big upsets. You said plus 375, I think it was, on Wolfsburg early this morning. I actually took the draw no bet line, which is a personal rule I'm going to institute for myself on underdogs
in soccer, at least.
Underdogs in soccer. I really like having the draw no bet line, just because I was mentioning this to you. A draw for most of these big underdogs is a win. So when it's 0-0, they're playing to protect the lead almost in a lot of situations. Was not the case today for Wolfsburg, but I just, you know, I figure I need to be disciplined in some of these things. So that's one that I'm setting for myself. I gave up quite a bit of value there in that one, but I know it'll come back to me later when I get a 0-0 tie and, you know, get my money back. Our guy, Chris K. Hill, chiming in, always here with us. Got to appreciate that. He says, when is the bar opening? I want to come make live bets with you guys. I'll set up a food table so you meet requirements. I'm off all summer now. So
beautiful
news coming on that very, very soon. Make sure you stay tuned to the DNVR Twitter account, as we have some really exciting news with that. We're so excited to see people like Chris Hill and all of our other, you know, friends we've made through our shows or through our watch parties or, you know, just online. We cannot wait to see you at the DNVR bar. So keep an eye on the main DNVR Twitter account tonight, DNVR_sports. Make sure you keep an eye on that tonight, as we will have news regarding the DNVR bar. That's really, really exciting. Okay, speaking of exciting news, did you see? Well, I guess we'll start. I won't bury the lead here. The exciting news is that the NHL has a plan to return. And that feels good.
Yeah.
The second most exciting part about this is, oh my God, it's going to be so lit.
It's going to be insane. It's going to be amazing. Break it down for the people, because I can hardly speak about it. I'm so excited.
So the 1 through 4 seeds in each conference, and that includes the Avalanche, of course, in the Western Conference, are going to play a round robin, almost for our soccer fans here.
Yep.
It's pool play.
Yes.
They're going to each play each other, just like pool play in the World Cup or any other, you know, major tournament. And whoever comes out on top is going to get the 1 seed, 2, 3, 4. And they'll all essentially be awaiting what happens in the next part of the bracket, which is teams 5 through 12, correct?
Right, yeah.
Yes. Teams 5 through 12 on each side of the bracket will then play each other for the right to get into the first round against whatever seedings those guys go into in the top 4. It's going to be so awesome. And from a betting perspective, I mean, we lost one of the best betting events there is, and that's the NCAA tournament.
Yep.
This is going to kind of have NCAA tournament vibes here in the early going, you know, one-off games from the 5 through 12s. That's right? They play one game.
Must be. No,
Yeah.
you're right. If it's round robin, it has to be. It's not a best of anything. It's round robin. It's how you stack up against those other three teams. I hadn't thought of that. That's insanity.
Yeah, one-off games, and then of course the 5 through 12 seeds. Are those one-offs as well? I believe they are. I'm sorry, I'm losing track of all the information.
That was best of 5.
Okay, that's a little different, but that would honestly be an advantage for the Avalanche. No matter what seed they get, to be able to sit back and really get ready.
I hope that's how it starts too, with the best team starting this off.
Okay,
like,
you're right.
How exciting is that? The best of the best going against each other in a all-in-one deciding game, one after the other for the top seeding of the playoffs. This is wild. Now, the other caveat is, if you're smart, you're not really taking these round robins too seriously. Like, what do I care about playoff seeding?
Well,
we're playing in a neutral arena and with no fans.
AJ coming in here, and I just pulled it up off the DNVR Avalanche Twitter account as well. Qualifying round, remaining 8 teams play best of 5 series to advance into the first rounds of the playoffs. And keep in mind the way that that's worded, because we'll talk about what you had to say in a second there. But this is called the qualifying round. These 5 through 12 seeds aren't technically in the playoffs yet. They're in the qualifying round.
Mm-hmm.
But how about this? Vegas coming through on this in, I would say, unprecedented fashion. They're going to let, if you bet on a team to make the playoffs and they are anywhere in that 1 through 24 that is making the playoffs, you're going to cash your playoffs bet.
Crazy.
Just because they made it to the qualifying round of this crazy system that the NHL has come up with. And I say crazy in the most endearing way possible, because I think it's incredible.
Right.
But wow, this is rare. So I hope some of our listeners here had some NHL futures bets, because 3/4 of all NHL futures bets in terms of per team are going to cash. And that is a rough loss for Vegas. And they're just going to kind of grin and bear it here, because the truth is, I think this is where the line is being drawn. Obviously, in a normal situation, you'd have the top 8 going in, right?
Right.
So how can someone who is the 5th seed, if they lose in this first round, are they really going to not get their thing, even though they were on pace to make it? I mean, Vegas usually doesn't care. They say, hey, that's called the qualifying round. You got to make the playoffs. And usually I would have bet at DraftKings Sportsbook that would not have happened. And so this is a huge win. I mean, imagine if you have that 24th team who was really on the outside looking in, would have had to make a crazy run late in the season. As we know, in hockey, that happens once in a while, but a lot of times it's really hard to make up ground late in the season in hockey. You are dead in the water if you're sitting at a team like the Minnesota Wild or, some of these other.
I think the example's the Blackhawks.
Yeah, the Blackhawks is the one.
Ton of fans, and there are 11 other teams in the Western Conference with better points, with more points, and yet the Blackhawks, who have all these fans and had plenty of action on them, are just gonna massacre Vegas. I can't believe it. It's amazing.
We rarely get wins on this side. I'm sad that I didn't have any NHL futures to just be celebrating tonight, but I hope some of you out there did, because again, it's pretty rare where you beat Vegas on a technicality. They usually beat you on a technicality.
It took a worldwide pandemic for your bet to win. Congratulations to you.
Hopefully you're getting your second stimulus check out of this.
Yeah, truly. It's just wild, though, and this format is going to be amazing for betting. It's going to be amazing for a lot of things. But back to my point about the seeding, I don't know. I almost think that could be a part of a gaming thing. I might, despite my usual tendencies, try to take a step back in that first couple games of the round robin for the top 4 seeds to figure out how seriously are teams taking this, how much are they really, because the other advantage is if you're the 1 seed, you're facing a team that had no business making the playoffs too.
Yeah, so that's what I think.
Almost like a bye.
So I'm looking at this right now just so I don't mess up any of the numbers. The 1 seed's going to play the winner of the 8-9. So you're either going to get a team that shouldn't have even been in the playoffs or the worst possible team that was going to be in the playoffs. Now, here is the case for tanking the round robin.
Yes.
The 4 seed is going to play the winner of the 5-12 matchup.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a chance there that you get the 4 seed and you play a team that not only did they not have any, they're the worst team. They had no business being anywhere near the playoffs. You could get the Blackhawks if you're the Avs in the first round of the playoffs, and you could have, taken 3 games off and had 3 extra games of rest on everyone else. To me, bad plan. I see where your thought is. You've got these games to tune yourself up. You've got 3 games to tune yourself up. You probably want to win them, but there might be a silver lining if you don't.
Yeah, and it's the NHL playoffs. As we know, anything can happen. Will that be the case in the qualifying round? Like, is it how much does parity play into this when the gap is even farther? Oh, man.
This is going to be so great. I mean, think of how many playoff games we could get. First of all, could you imagine if your team is like a 12 seed, they go to 5 games in the first year, and forget it, they're the 7 seed. They go to 5 games in the first series, they go to 7 games in the second. Your heart, I don't know if people's hearts are going to be able to take this. I'm thankful that we're just going to be able to watch this first round and kind of watch these teams cannibalize each other as the Avs just wait there, stalking their prey. But man, you're going to get dozens and dozens of NHL playoff games, and it's going to be incredible from not just a betting standpoint, but just, you and I, absolute die-hard sports fans from top to bottom. It's why we're watching the KBO and all that stuff. But this is going to be incredible. And our guy, AJ Hafley, who's in charge of DNVR Avalanche, coming in right now. Here are some updated Stanley Cup odds. Boston 6-1, Tampa Bay 6-1, Vegas 6-1, Colorado 8-1. Value alert. St. Louis 10-1, Washington 10-1, Philly 12-1, Dallas 14-1, Pittsburgh 16-1, Toronto 31, Nashville 40-1. Goes on and on and on. Chicago 100-1, and I don't know if that's a typo, but he says Montreal 1,000-1.
I'll take that. I like those odds. Wow, that's amazing. But second best odds though in the Western Conference for the Avs.
Yeah, and but
we'll see how DK's odds play into that and how that changes on the app.
AJ clarifies 100, not 1,000-1, as we figured. I just love the fact that they have the Avs with the 4th best when they're the number 2 seed.
Yeah,
on their side, obviously, and you've got Boston and Tampa Bay in front of them, so they've got them as second best in the Western Conference where they belong. But man, I kind of like the 8-1. I feel like that's a little disrespectful.
Well, and there's no wrong choice. Like, there's just that much more, unstable, factors we can't factor in a play. The playoff system that created the most parity already as is. Now you can really throw up your hands. You're not going to have fans. You're not going to have a home ice advantage, really, at least not until the conference finals, which might be occurring. We're assuming this starts in August. Maybe the conference finals are in September. Maybe we do have fans by then, but there's just so many factors. I'd place 4 or 5, extend the budget, take a few long shots, take a few favorites, and let's have some fun with this.
Yeah, no, I think you're on there, and a lot of people are big on NCAA tournament futures bets. You get them at the beginning of the season, and then you start hedging them off as you go through the tournament. Yeah. You could employ a similar strategy here if you want to get in on, 3 or 4 of the lower seeds, a couple of the higher seeds, and then you play the odds. You kind of have to be a pro to figure out how you do this. Yeah. So I would advise, devising a full-fledged strategy before you get in on this. But if you say you have that 12 seed and they advance even just out of that round, well, you can hedge them off in the next round anyway. So, he was blowing up our comment section. So why don't we just bring him on? AJ Hafley, ladies and gentlemen, coming in to join DNVR Bets Daily. You know, I figured, hey, he's in there. That means he's probably by his computer. Let's bring him on. AJ, you must be having a great day.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting to actually look at the match. Like we've known, like they've leaked all of this information in the last couple of weeks, so we've kind of this has been built up. So nothing too revelatory today. Just finally like some actual groundwork that we can stand on. So exciting. I mean, it's fun to talk about. It's got a very NCAA tourney feel to it. So I said earlier today that they should make this the permanent format.
Man, doesn't that really kill the value of the regular season, though?
No.
Okay.
So we got it right. It's just the round robin portion. It's just one game, right?
Yeah, round robin. Yeah, you play each team one time.
So do you expect
so they
that
play
to
3 games?
You see that as kind of chalk? I mean, already like Boston and Tampa Bay, who wins that out is going to be really intriguing.
Well, and we don't know how anybody's playing anymore, so
right.
Every single game is a coin flip. I mean, NHL games are already coin flips to begin with, but when you get into no momentum, everyone's healthy, everyone's coming off the exact same circumstances. This is like starting the playoffs in the first week of the regular season.
So if there was a long shot in that 5-12 that you would, maybe sprinkle some action this early, as we still don't know too much. A
couple of the odds that really stood out to me, honestly, Pittsburgh at 16-1.
Yeah.
I think that'll probably get enough play that it won't stay there for very long.
Love it.
Honestly, Edmonton at 40-1.
Yeah.
That they were the 5th seed, and they were on their way to a top 4 seed. Had the season lasted 5 more days, they would have been a top 4 seed. So the big concern about Edmonton is that that matchup against Chicago, they could not have had a worse matchup. So
crazy.
Chicago, if you can get Chicago for one round, whatever those odds end up being in that series, that's immediately looking at all of the matchups. That's my first like upset alert. Like you look at Chicago over Edmonton, because if they go strength on strength, Chicago can punch with Edmonton. The weaknesses there really could go Chicago's way, especially with no momentum whatsoever.
Oh, if Chicago somehow weasels a championship out of this, I'm going to lose my mind.
I don't think they will do that, but even if they do, it'll be the hardest championship ever won in NHL history. Because they'll have to win. You'll have to win 5 rounds.
That's such a great point. It really is. It's going to be the toughest. Whoever comes out of this is going to be a true champ. As we're just spitballing and trying to process this all initially, we'll have you on for more stuff when we can really sink our teeth and we have more odds and props and what have you. Off the top, who do you feel like are the teams that could be most impacted by no home ice advantage, no fans? Vegas sticks out to me, for example.
I think Edmonton is a decent bet here. Yeah. I think Carolina is going to hurt a little bit because they're just a different club in front of their own fans. St. Louis for sure. St. Louis was a very mediocre road team this year. And so you take them out of their very cushy environment that they have. And I would not be surprised if St. Louis does not spend very much time defending their championship.
Wow.
But I've been hating on St. Louis for 2 years, and it just hasn't worked for me. So just keep that in mind.
Just keep pouring the money down. That's what happens when you're losing bets.
Yeah. No, and it's just they have just the kind of group. Like, I know eventually I'll be correct in this. Like they will not have a long cup window. So at some point the demise will come. This might be the kind of situation where goaltending is going to steal a round or two, and St. Louis has that, so they might get away with it. But having a road environment only, no fans, I think Toronto sticks out as a dangerous team because they'll be able to play more freely than ever.
Right.
They won't have the pressure of playing in front of a very hostile home crowd that they have.
Yeah.
They won't have any of the hundreds of media members that crush them after the game. They'll be able to play as freely as they've ever played wearing that uniform. And that's a very, very good offensive team. So if Toronto gets hot, they at 30-1, then they could really be nasty. But teams that are really hurt by it, I think St. Louis sticks out.
Yeah.
Dallas sticks out as long as the hub city is at Dallas.
Right.
And there's a good question that spawns off of that. If a hub city is Las Vegas, is that an advantage in itself just for the Knights, even though they don't have their fans, just not having to leave their house, or I guess not having to, get used to a new locker room, et cetera, et cetera?
So the thing is with the locker rooms, they're going to be playing multiple games per day, so they're going to have to take their stuff in and out of the locker room no matter what. So some of that familiarity, and they will be listed as a road team in some of the games. I imagine they'll throw them in a road locker room as well.
It would only be fair.
Yeah. So I think that the advantages that you get being at home, it'll be like, hey, they're in their own city. They might have to stay in the hotel anyway.
I think that, right as I said that, I realized they probably have to make them follow all the same protocols.
Right. Just for all the isolation purposes and the contact tracing that's going to have to go on in order to pull this thing off. I don't think that they're going to get to stay at their homes. So I really don't see there being too much of a home ice advantage, other than like you in game, you're comfortable with the boards. You kind of know the bounces a little bit. Ice quality has been a big topic of conversation. Without 20,000 people on top of it, I don't think it'll be a significant problem. But it's until we see, the proof is in the pudding, right? And until we actually get out there and see what August hockey looks like, you just really don't know. It could be the worst ice ever, and and games are getting decided 1-0 because it looks like that Stadium Series nonsense we had to sit through earlier this year.
Oh God! Last one I have for you: fake stadium noise. For it or against it?
Hard against.
Really?
Hard against. I think it's trashy.
Have you been watching any of the soccer games that have?
Yeah, it sounds like a bad video game.
Wow. Okay.
So
strong. I like it.
I'm hard against it. I regularly watch hockey either on mute or in empty stands anyway, because I watch a lot of like European juniors. So fanless, like crowdless sports does not do anything for me. It does not bother me at all. I would honestly rather just sounds of the game. Can we shut the broadcasters up too? Like, can we just go pure sound of the game?
It was today while watching Bundesliga, I did feel like, man, I do wish I could hear what the guys are saying. That's been such a joy of this, like, fans, is you can hear the guys talking to each other on the field.
And it'll be great. They'll be speaking in a language we actually understand for once.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's going to be awesome.
I'm going the other way. I would have thought that I was on your guys' on your side, AJ, until I saw it, and like it just kind of made me forget for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, right, there aren't fans. Like, it just didn't make it quite as obvious. It didn't feel like there was like no atmosphere.
I think you'll get a week into games and we'll all be accustomed to it, and it'll just be like, okay, this is just the world now.
Yeah. Whatever decision they make, especially if they decide to go with the fake crowd noise, it's going to be much maligned. So,
there's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, totally. All right, well, AJ, unless you have any burning KBO picks that you want to rattle off, I think we can let you go.
Twins for life, yo.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go, Twins. All right, that is AJ Hafley. Huge thank you to him for coming out. And man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And just more insight. I love, some of those long shot picks that he talked about, just because of what we were just talking about in terms of hedging. You can get Toronto, you can get Chicago at 100-1, even if they just get through the first round. Well, you just go ahead and hedge them off in the second round, but you end up making a couple bucks. So just an interesting strategy that you can kind of employ there if you want to get serious about how you can try to scheme the books a little bit. Going through some of these strategies and finding value throughout these guys. So he gave out Pittsburgh 16-1, Toronto 30-1, Edmonton 40-1, and then he did mention Chicago getting through the first round as a good possibility. So again, he's not saying those guys are going to win it, but he's saying there's good value there.
Right.
And when there's good value, there's a way to make money off of it. So, have you noticed, Dre, that sometimes they'll offer you to buy out of your bets?
Yes, as you were saying that, I was wondering if that would happen if Chicago advanced to round 2, if I would maybe. Yeah, I mean, like, legal betting is the bomb.
It really is.
Because you get all these deals. It's amazing. Like, it's improved the experience 20-fold. It
really has. Yeah. And there's they do these missions, and I completed a mission today, and I got a little $5 free bet. It's like, this stuff's great. And like I said, you will, props are a big buyback opportunity for books. So if Chicago makes it out of that first round, well, all of a sudden their odds are going to go from 100 to 1, probably all the way down to like 50, 60 to 1. Right. And they will try to buy that back from you, and you can just get out of it right then and there and say, okay, cool, I'll take my $25 or whatever they're going to pay me to get out of this.
Yeah, I mean, if you're making money, your strategy's winning. It's as good as any pick on any game. I kind of love that, especially if we can assume that will be the case. Yeah, that's exactly, Dre, why I stopped giving away runs in the KBO. I'll give away value because if you win, you don't really care how much came back. You just know you won. That's my strategy. Anyways, speaking of the KBO, why don't we get into that now? Yeah. How'd that work? Taking the 1.5 yesterday at odds.
Didn't help, but I mean, it was a loss either way, whether I took the money line or whether I took the run. So I'll take my, I'm sticking to my strategy. I'm not going to give it up.
It was a low scoring night in the KBO too. So I think we're due.
Ooh, don't tell me that.
Yeah. I'm sorry to break it to you. That's how it's feeling. I won an under, an over, and I won the Dinos -1.5 yesterday. So that's how I navigated that.
All right. Well, what do you have for us tonight?
Now I've changed my strategy. I'm not doing blanket strategies anymore. It just so happens that tonight, based on the pitching lineups we have, I'm going back to our old KB over. I've got 4 KB overs. That is Bears Wyverns. Love picking against the Wyverns these days, especially with that Bears potent offense. Lions Giants, another 2 offenses who've been killing it. Dinos Heroes, Twins Eagles. So taking the overs on all of those across the board.
Trying to find team totals here. So here's just something I'll throw out for you here.
Yeah.
Bears over 6.5 plus 102. Then you're not counting on the Wyverns to hold up their end of the bargain there.
I like that. I like that quite a bit.
Okay, so that's what I'm taking. That's one for me. What were some of the other overs you mentioned?
Lions, Giants, Dinos, Heroes, and Twins, Eagles.
Twins, Eagles. I want to look at the team total on that as well. Twins over 5.5 plus 110.
I like that.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
And then I am going to flip-flop from last night. I'm going to take Dino's money line. I felt good about Kiwoom. I'm out on Kiwoom.
What's that Dino's money line coming in at?
-157.
So that's good value.
Yeah,
that's good value. That's good value. Okay. Yeah, I was tempted by the KT Wiz money line, but at -186, I'm just, that's the other thing I gotta kind of keep reminding me. We're betting on baseball. They're playing every day. So there's a lot of variance. An upset can happen easily on one game. Things happen. A pitcher has a good day. These are professional pitchers. This is what they do for their livelihood.
Totally. And you know what? I was actually thinking of going for the full slate tonight, just overs across the board. Because I felt like we're due, but I'm just gonna stick with my guns here. 3 picks a day. That's kind of the norm for me. Okay. So I'm not gonna get out of my comfort zone here. We have a new system where we can text each other to add. Yes. Just to make sure we're keeping each other accountable here. So I did add today because I wanted more Bundesliga action. Yep. And that paid off for me because I got in on Wolfsburg.
You got the big upset. Yep. Didn't help your record too much, but on our show, but it made you money, and that's really what we're interested in.
And we're gonna change that eventually. We might as well just do it now as we're both just at 500.
Yeah, we could.
I mean,
we'd go by value is what you're suggesting. So the listeners know what's going on, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying we go by units. So you establish what a unit is, and then you put the unit up against whatever the odds are, and you say you gained 1.5 units, or you gained 0.75 units. We'll keep the records as well, but we'll also keep the units. So a win like Wolfsburg today is going to give you on one unit 3.75 units. It's like winning 3 games, because in your bankroll, it really is like you won 3 games. So sure. I think I'm calling it right now. That's how we're doing it, because this is a perfect time for us to restart. I feel like, unless you want to push back until NHL or MLB returns.
No, I'm down. And I think for me, it'll come into play most during the weekend. That seems to be the weekend. My records always hurt, but my account is looking good because I always seem to hit on this upset, and I'm being a little more. I'm really watching these upsets, man, because everyone's betting the favorites from the DK data we're getting, and like the Bundesliga today, Wolfsburg pulls up the upset. Bayern was the big favorite one, but Bremen was able to get the tie against Gladbach. That was a fairly good favorite. So the upsets have really been hit. They have been, and again, we're sitting at 500 straight up. We know we have the Gagey upset, which is a big one. We have the Eagle prop that we gave out this weekend. That was a big one. We have obviously Wolfsburg today. That's another one, like right there. That's 8 additional units that we only got credit for 1 hour on there. So that ends today. Today we begin tracking units. We'll keep our records, in the back pocket, but I think we start fresh. Go for units from here on out. What do you think? Beautiful. Sounds great. All right. Well, that's that. We've got a new system. We're going to go make some money on the KBO tonight, and we'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. Thanks again to AJ Hafley for joining us. Awesome insight from him. And we'll definitely have him back on as we start to get some more lines, on the round robin tournament, on all of this stuff, on these matchups. So we'll bring on AJ and, of course, Rudo as well soon. But for now, it's going to wrap it up. Thanks, you all, for tuning in, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. As you guys know, we're working with DraftKings Sportsbook, so make sure you download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use the code DNVR when you sign up. For a limited time, all new users can get a sign-up bonus up to $1,000 only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. The deposit bonus requires a 25x playthrough and restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And of course, if you have a